Coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, this is the award-winning ParaReality Radio. My name's Sandman, and myself, along with my co-host, Eric Patterson, we're going to be your host for the next hour tonight. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to your favorite paranormal podcast, ParaReality Radio. Of course, it is Friday, September 6th, 2019, the first Friday of September, and that means that it is time for a new episode of the show, and I have Eric P. back in the house again.
What's going on, Sandman?
Hey, dude. Well, good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be here.
Been gone a little bit. Once again, we've been trying to get our schedules worked out and everything, and started a new job and all that sorts of stuff. And
life takes off, but yeah, good to be here.
Good to have you back, Eric.
Yes.
So, man, we have a great show in store for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the Jeff Epstein conspiracy theories. You know, when accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein died of an apparent, he says with air quotes, an apparent suicide while in federal custody on August the 10th earlier this summer, perhaps the most shocking aspect of the news was how little some people, myself included, and I'm sure Eric, he's shaking his head over there, is how little some people were shocked, and that was actually the most shocking thing. I think rarely such a headline-grabbing event like this has so just thoroughly gratified the minds of conspiracy theorists and people who are just naturally suspicious-minded. Man, Twitter and social media were blowing up about this thing. There was a furious cyclone of cynicism that was out there on social media and Twitter, and it's still swirling around out there. It has no signs of slowing down just yet. People are saying things like, I told you so, and they killed him, and I don't think he's dead, and all this kinds of stuff. And it didn't help matters at all that those who doubted the official story also correctly predicted the emergence of enormous holes in the story about this guy dying. And there's a lack of video footage of the incident. There's huge lapse in protocol by the guards of this guy. And there's all kinds of stuff that just scream suspicious activity. So, it raises a few questions. Did Jeffrey Epstein commit suicide in that jail cell? Or did somebody kill him? And if someone killed him, was that person somehow in the employ of former President Bill Clinton or our current President Donald Trump?
Yep, there are both possibilities.
Yep. So, or was this entire thing faked? I mean, did he somehow manage to fake his own death? And I don't know, maybe he's living on some sort of, deserted island along with, Elvis and Jim Morrison and Michael Jackson and John F. Kennedy.
Tupac.
Tupac. How could I forget Tupac?
Yeah.
So, to find out what Eric and I think, you guys are going to have to, of course, tune in and find out. But before we get started with the show, let me tell you that there's a few different ways you can get in contact with us here. First of all, you can just go to ParaReality.com. That's the website for the show. There's a contact form on the About page. You can fill that out. But why would you want to do that? You can simply email the show, sandman@ParaReality.com. That's where I'll get your direct email, or you can find the ParaReality Radio Facebook page by looking for ParaReality Radio and a search on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter. My handle is @ParaRealRadio. You can also call the studio line, 615-692-1170, and leave a message on the studio line. Just be aware that I may play your comment back on the show. So if you do not want me to play your comment back on the show, you need to tell me when you leave your message. And I'm always in the studio, and I may actually catch you there. I don't know. And you can get in touch with Eric P. by following him on Twitter at...
Yes, Twitter at World We Live Pod. And yeah, you can catch us on iTunes, World We Live in podcast, and really anywhere, Spotify, all those places.
Podbean's your host. You can look
Podbean's
on
our host.
Podbean.
Yep. Yeah. And we've been dark for about a month just because my co-host Kyle and I we've just been busy. I'm not using it as an excuse, but yeah. So, but yeah, we got good episodes. Ideally every week, and hopefully we get back to that. But yeah, check us out.
That's World We Live In podcast on Podbean. Love it. So before we get into the meat of everything, I got some fan mail. I started back reading fan mail.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I did it for a little while, and then I kind of got out of it, and I get emails and stuff. So I was like, why not do some fan mail? So this comes from, and I don't have a name. There was not a name associated with this email. It was just an email address. So I'm not going to give out the email address, but it looks like the person's name is Kalia. Kalia1 with the number 1 writes, "Great shows. Can you do a show on the 18-foot tall giants that live on the Solomon Islands? There are many sightings today of their giants who live underground." Well, first of all, Kalia, thank you for the comment. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on surrounding giants, and there was a show on, I think, the History Channel about these 2 stonemason brothers who were trying to prove that giants existed in America and all this, or just existed, period. So I'm not really familiar with the giants on the Solomon Islands. I'll have to check that out. But Eric P., do you know anything about giants on Solomon Island?
No, I have not heard about the Solomon Islands, but I'm very interested in all that kind of ancient archaeology. I've listened to a few things about giants in general, as far as like past giant humans, and I think there was, back in the 1920s, there was a lot of like disinformation as far as people fantasizing stuff. So if we look into it, just be wary that some of those have been debunked. But as far as Solomon Islands, I am blank sheet on that. I don't know about those.
Well, it looks like we've got our homework cut out for us.
Yeah, totally.
We'll have to look into that. So thanks, Kalia, for bringing that suggestion up. Eric P. and I will take a look into that, and maybe we'll collaborate on a future show or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good. But let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein, man, because this is hot off the press stuff.
Yeah, this is fresh.
Yeah,
this is fresh.
Really fresh.
And it goes deep.
Yeah, it goes really deep. So in case you have been living under a rock or you don't know, Jeffrey Epstein, the millionaire, financier, and convicted sex offender, was found dead by suicide in his jail cell on Saturday morning, August the 10th. He was awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges in Manhattan's Metropolitan Correctional Center. Now, he was, depending on how you look at it, he was an older guy. To me, he wasn't that old, but to you young people out there like Eric P. over there, he was probably a little older, but he was only 66. And his death comes less than a day after there was a bunch of disturbing court documents that was made public, offering details about his alleged abuse of dozens of mostly underage girls, as well as people who assisted him or participated in this abuse. And these documents supposedly also indicate many rich and powerful people from the elite circles that Epstein was, who he was a member of, who he ran around with. So in the wake of his death, there's been all kinds of conspiracy theories out there. But probably the most popular one is that he was somehow killed by Bill Clinton. And you can probably thank our current sitting president, Donald Trump, for bringing that conspiracy theory out. But however, I think that there could be something to that. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards that. I'm sure you'll reference here in a second, but there's a list out there of known associates of the Clintons, and what'd we say? It's like 40-something people long, and they're all dead.
47 people who were associated with Bill Clinton
that have wound
that
up,
we know of.
That we know of, exactly, that we know of, and they've all been found dead. So, I think there's a lot of people out there that are just fed up with the BS that the mainstream news keeps feeding us, and I think it's gotten to a point where people are just like, no, that's not what happened. Like when it was determined, quote unquote, that Jeffrey Epstein died of suicide, I think most people were like, okay, like we know that's not true, but if you're gonna say that, fine. We'll people who want to know more will search and find out more. And there's a huge like you said, there's a huge movement on social media and corners of Reddit as well that have dug deep. I'm currently looking at a Reddit page right now that I'll get into in a second.
Okay,
but,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, there are some of these theories that obviously they're more credible than others. For instance, there is actually some evidence that Epstein intended to blackmail some of his associates, but overall the circumstances of Epstein's life and his career they're really like tailor-made for all kinds of conspiracy theories. So, there's number one, his tremendous wealth. This guy was not just a millionaire, but a multi-millionaire. He had multiple mansions. He had private jets, stuff like that. He had his own island, which, God, I would love to have my own island, right?
Island, yeah.
But no one really knows exactly how he made all of this money. He had some powerful friends, some of whom, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, have also been accused of sexual misconduct. So he hung around kind of like a questionable crowd there.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that he was able to avoid prosecution for 10 years or so under some, similar circumstances. But how was he able to avoid this prosecution? Was it because he was rich and powerful? Did he pay off some people?
Yeah.
Were they threatened because he had rich and powerful friends? It's really weird. There's like I said, everything about this guy is tailor-made for conspiracy theories.
Yeah, it is. There's this. I think most people would agree that there's this high wealthy class that Epstein was associated with that is pervasive throughout politics, and like you said, Trump, Clinton. There's even pictures of him with like very high up figures, and there's this. I don't want to call it an underworld because it's not an underworld, but there's like and it's not really secret either. They're just kind of out there, just very wealthy individuals who can use money to do just about anything.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you're a multimillionaire, you've got a lot of power.
Oh, tons.
Because money equals power.
Money is power.
Especially in America, right? The home of capitalism at its finest.
Exactly.
So if you have a lot of money, you are a god. You can do basically what you want, and 9 times out of 10 you can get away with it simply because you have a lot of money. Not that you have to pay people off, but people a lot of times was like, well, this guy's a multimillionaire, so let's just turn the other cheek type deal. And if you need to pay some people off, well, you can do that too. And probably someone like Epstein, who had questionable associates, I am very sure, and we're going to get into a little bit more stuff on this in a minute, but I am very sure that if he wanted someone offed, I'm very sure that all he had to do was pick up the phone, and I'm sure he had like a, the bat phone type deal. There's some assassin in a cave somewhere. He just picks up the phone. Yes, Mr. Epstein, who do you want me to kill today? Type deal.
Yeah.
Very sure it's something like that.
Especially in New York.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
New York's known for the secretive organizations, hitmen. It's probably gone a little more underground than it has been in the past, but I'm pretty sure it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit here about. I've got some stuff that I want to talk about with his money, because I said he had, obviously we've mentioned a couple times, multimillionaire, but we don't know how he made this money. So this is one of the central mysteries surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. How in the hell did he get rich in the first place? So you got to look a little bit at his background. He was born in Brooklyn to basically his mom was a stay-at-home mom and a gardener. His dad was a gardener for the New York City Parks Department. So he did not come from wealth, right? So he's a first-generation millionaire. He dropped out of college in the 1970s, and not too long after that, he became somehow, don't know how, he became a teacher at Manhattan's prestigious Dalton School. And then he left, reportedly because of poor performance. It's, that's the rumor. Anyway.
Yeah, who knows the actual...
And then after that, he joined the investment bank Bear Stearns, where he made a partner there in a 4-year time span. And from there, he struck out on his own, and in the 1980s is where things started to really look up for Epstein, because he befriended a person named Leslie Wexner, who is the billionaire founder of L Brands. And if you don't know who L Brands is, well, L Brands is the parent company of Victoria's Secret. So everybody knows who Victoria's Secret is, right?
Yep.
And then soon after that, he began managing Wexner's finances. So Wexner, even to this day, remains Epstein's only publicly known client. So did he have any other clients besides this person? Now, remember, he's managing the finances of a billionaire with a B.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he could become a millionaire, because if you've got billions, what's a few million? Right?
That's true.
So somehow he managed to amass what, to me, and as most normal everyday people, seems like an enormous fortune. It's upwards of 500 million. Or it could even be more than that, but it's going to be somewhere around the 500 million whenever you calculate everything up. He had, like we said, the private island. He lived in one of the largest homes in Manhattan, which he got from Wexner. He acquired that from Wexner for an undisclosed amount of money. And he made a $6.5 million gift to help start a program at Harvard, and supposedly he was going to be donating a lot more money to that university. So how in the hell did Jeff Epstein get so rich with only one client? Well, you're talking about a billionaire here, but no one really knows. He was a longtime mystery on Wall Street. No one that had seen him there ever really saw any evidence of him actually managing anybody's money. There's a guy named Douglas Cass, who was a hedge fund manager. He did an interview with New York Magazine a little bit prior to Epstein's arrest, and he says that he had asked around several times to see if there was anyone who had ever worked with Epstein. And according to him, not one institutional trading desk, primary or secondary, had ever traded with Epstein's firm. No one that he could find.
Wow.
So the mystery grows, right? So given the secrecy around Epstein's source of income, his source of wealth, and a number of theories obviously have emerged as to how he actually amassed his fortune. So there's a couple of possibilities here. He could have been running a Ponzi scheme or some sort of money laundering operation. Some people speculate that Epstein's real business was the business of blackmail, that he collected video footage or other types of evidence of his powerful friends having sex with underage girls so he could force these people to invest money with him, i.e. give him money, right? And documents relating to a 2015 lawsuit, there's a woman named Virginia Roberts Giuffre who said that Epstein forced her to have sex with men and then, quote, debriefed her so he could get intimate and potentially embarrassing information off of her for blackmail purposes. So, but how much, if any, money did Epstein actually make in this fashion? Did he, in fact, get rich simply by siphoning off funds from Leslie Wexner, which I think is probably a distinct possibility, because she accused him of misappropriating vast sums of money? Don't know. So, like I said, he's got he was a bad dude. He was shady,
yeah, very shady.
So there's nobody. He was supposedly this hedge fund guy. This investor, but he had no clients, just Wexner. So what?
Where did
it come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a thing about, and that I haven't. Well, I'm not sure we could anyway. I haven't verified this, but I've heard that he could have possibly been in a business of helping ultra millionaires recover lost money. So somehow helping people who had maybe made a bad investment, recovering those funds by making new investments.
Okay.
But
that's a possibility, but
somewhere. But clearly, those clients have not been disclosed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, who were they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing is that if you are siphoning money off of a billionaire like Leslie Wexner, okay, he obviously had some sort of, I'm not going to say perfect, but he had something that he was doing that was working. If he was actually siphoning money off. But if you've got someone that is a billionaire that has all this money, and they're going to say, okay, Eric, you're going to be the guy that manages all of my finances. How much attention do you think you're really, as a billionaire, are you going to pay to your finances? Probably not a heck of a lot, especially if you have someone that's this, I trust you. So you can start siphoning off, and if you're a billionaire, who's going to miss $100,000, $200,000 here, $200,000 there?
Yeah.
And eventually, oh, geez, look, I have $500 million fortune.
Yep.
And another thing, I just got to throw this out there. All the pictures that I've ever seen of this guy.
Of Epstein?
Yeah. Doesn't he look just like a greasy MFer? I mean, he just looks like
they all do.
Weird.
I mean, Clinton is greasy, Trump's greasy. They're all greasy. It's just that lifestyle. No, he does.
Yeah.
He's I'm looking at a picture of him right now. He's got that look that's like, I'm gonna screw you over, but I'll still call you my friend.
I know your secrets, buddy. Give me some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So another thing about Epstein was, speaking of friends, he was friends with a lot of powerful men, and some of those guys were accused of sexual misconduct. So he had what he called a collection of famous friends, and he was very social. He hosted a lot of parties and other kind of social event with people like prominent scientists and academics and stuff like that. And there was reports, and I've heard this from more than one source, he apparently was very vocal about buying or getting a I can't remember if he had a ranch or if he was going to buy a ranch. I think he had a ranch that he was going to turn into like a baby ranch.
He had a ranch in I think it was New Mexico.
Yeah, so he was going to have all these young women, and there's multiple rooms. He was going to have a young woman and occupying each room, and he was just going to go have sex with all of them, get them all pregnant, and spread his DNA out to help repopulate the earth. Now, you know, You got to take that for what it is, okay?
For sure.
This is a billionaire who obviously liked younger women. How serious was he? This could have just been like a joke, you know?
It could have, for
Because
sure.
I will be honest with you, that sounds like some shit that I would do. You know, I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. If I had, you know, had $1 million or $500 million, you know, and was hobnobbing around with all these people, I might make a joke. It's like, yeah, I'm going to repopulate the earth, and I'm going to buy this ranch
with a bunch of attractive women.
Yeah, exactly. There's a, you know, rigorous, you know, application process. I'll need headshots and resumes. Sandman at ParaReality.com.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just as more of like a comical side of that, the millionaire Dan Bilzerian. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I know the name.
Yeah. Well, he does not do that, but he runs around with like 15 models, just on his yacht at his house. On his Snapchat, if you find Dan Bilzerian, it's just all just hot women. So, I mean, clearly there's an attractive something.
Hey,
there.
if you have lots of money, you will also have lots of attractive women.
People will. Anybody will want to be around you.
Yeah. Or if you are a same thing as not just men. I mean, we automatically, I don't know why it's the way our society is ingrained. You always think of rich and powerful people as a man, right? But women can be rich and powerful too. So you have a multi-millionaire attractive woman, or even if she's not even attractive, she could be just, you know, regular plain Jane. You're going to have lots of hot young guys looking for their sugar mama.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
So it goes both ways. But I mean, let's face it. Men are sexual beings. You know. I mean, everybody is a sexual being, but men are more so.
Very much so.
I gotta admit, man, if I had $500 million and had a disposable income, I would probably have 2 or 3 hot chicks hanging around me too. You know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you can, like, why not?
Exactly.
And you're not married? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. You know. And hey, I'm taking my yacht out to the Caribbean for the weekend, and we're going to cruise to Nassau or whatever. You want to come? Invite a couple of your hot chick friends, you know.
6 girls in bikinis on your yacht. I mean, I don't know any straight man who would deny that.
So it's, you got to look at something like that and say, okay, well, look at it in context. Okay. We, as everyday Joes who are broke,
most of the time,
I know we can sit here and judge someone like that and say, oh man, that's just, you know, he was 66 and he had these 20-something-year-old girls or 30-something-year-old girls or whatever, or half his age, you know, on the yacht with him or whatever. Oh, he was a sick bastard. But if I were 66 years old and had $500 million, like I said, I would probably do the same thing too, because it's hard as a man who is a sexual being. When you have millions of dollars, people are going to be after their piece of that pie. And if you've got 4 or 5 hot chicks who would all like a piece of your pie, and they're offering you a piece of the action, well, heck yeah. At some point, you're going to crack.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
At some point you're going to crack. And I'm not saying I'm not condoning stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, you got to take it for what it is, and you got to look at it realistically. So, yeah, he was a millionaire, multimillionaire, and I'm quite sure he had his choice of hot chicks. So, is that so unusual? Absolutely not. And you have to take what he was saying about the baby farm, the baby ranch. And you have to say, oh, was that a joke or was that real? So you even have our President Trump, who knew Epstein. He met him back in the 80s and partied with him off and on through the 80s and the 90s and stuff. There's, you know, pictures all over the place of them doing that. In 2002, Trump did an interview with New York Magazine and said that, quote, Epstein was a terrific guy, and said that he even goes on to say, it's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. And then, of course, you fast forward to this year, and Trump's been obviously trying to distance himself from this guy, but, they did, it's public knowledge, they did party together. They've known each other since the 80s. There was one woman by the name of Katie Johnson, which is not her real name. She never came forward with her real name. She's the only person that's accused Trump of any wrongdoing related to Jeff Epstein. And she says that Trump violently raped her at a 1994 orgy that was hosted by Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And, of course, Trump is denying the allegations, and no one, in President Trump's favor, no one has been able to substantiate this person's claim, and she's never come forward under her real name. And then she, before the 2016 election, just like days before, she withdrew her lawsuit because, according to her lawyer, she was getting death threats, which, who knows if that's true or not. But I doubt very seriously that Trump raped her during an orgy in 1994.
It does sound a little far-fetched.
Yeah. But you got to look at, who we're talking about here. It's still our president of the United States, and he has been accused of sexual misconduct by more than a dozen women. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he has denied all of these allegations. And in the Me Too movement, you have to look at what is sexual conduct. Now these days it can be simply just, you can look at somebody wrong and be like, hey, you look really hot in that dress. And that could be sexual misconduct these days.
It's true.
You can get a freaking lawsuit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's former President Bill Clinton. Epstein reportedly visited the Clinton White House several times, and even after Clinton left office, they hung out together because Clinton took several trips on Epstein's private jet. Mm-hmm. No one's actually come forward to accuse Clinton of any type of sexual misconduct connected to Epstein, but just like Trump, Clinton has been accused of sexual misconduct in the past, including by a woman named Juanita Broderick, who says Clinton raped her in 1978.
Oh, wow.
So you've got, two presidents, one former, one current, who both have been accused of sexual misconduct, both who are hanging out around Jeff Epstein, who, let's just say, if they were hanging with Jeffrey Epstein and partying with him, there was some kind of debauchery going on right there. And I wouldn't put it past Epstein to have had some sort of something about these two guys. Maybe there was secret video or audio or photographs or all three. You never know. So, you've got fueling some of these theories are legitimate questions around the circumstances of Epstein's death because of these things.
And I've heard the number of the times Clinton flew on his private jet. That's something like 26 times. And there was a joke I heard about, like, you don't just fly with someone on their private jet 26 times. Like, you're clearly good friends with them if you're flying 26 times on a private jet. Like, there was a friendship there. And
obviously.
Yeah, and I assume I haven't heard a lot about Trump's relationship with him, but if they're at parties together and they're taking pictures together, I imagine there's a similar sort of friendship. Yeah.
I read an article about Clinton's use of Epstein's jet. And he apparently used it to do some fundraising or something in Africa or something of that nature. And they said that the attraction between Clinton and Epstein, on Bill Clinton's part, was simply that, well, he's not the president of the United States anymore, so he doesn't have access to things like airplanes and stuff.
Oh, I see.
And Epstein, well, he had a private jet, so let me use it to go do these things. But and that does make sense, and I'm sure that that did happen. However, he did not go do that 26 times. You know. So I was unaware of the 26 times that Clinton used Epstein's private jet.
Yeah, that's a number I've heard.
Yeah, so you're right. You don't just, bum a ride 26 times without being...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think some of those were to the island as well. Well,
yeah. Go figure.
Yeah.
The private island. Yeah.
There's also a lot of stuff about this. The context I've heard of it, it's all speculation, but there are speculations about the layout of the island and some of the figures that were on the island possibly being some more esoteric meanings to what he was doing on the island, but I can't speak to the validity of any of those. It's just stuff that I've heard and read.
Well, you can bet that whatever they find on that island, and that place has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb by now.
For sure.
Whatever they have found out, 100% of that will never come to see the light.
Oh, no way. No way.
And Epstein's got a brother, and he's his only living heir, And how much of Epstein's fortune do you think he's going to get? Zero. The government's taking all of that.
Yeah.
He died while in the custody of the government, you might as well say, because he was in jail and accused of sex trafficking. Well, Jesus Christ, how much do you think that they're going to let his brother have? Zero. Zero.
Yep.
So we've talked about all the mysterious circumstances surrounding Epstein when he was alive. Let's talk about the stuff that was surrounding him when he died.
For sure.
So 3 weeks before his death, on July 23rd, Epstein had been found kind of semi-conscious in his cell with marks on his neck, though it wasn't clear if he tried to harm himself or had been attacked. And prison officials investigated that as a possible suicide attempt, and they actually put him on suicide watch, which would entail placing him in a special cell where he could be constantly monitored by prison personnel and prevented from having access to any means by which he could take his own life. And he was also subject to daily psychiatric evaluation during his time, and that's according to something that I read from the New York Times. But he was taken off of suicide watch conveniently on July 29th, and then he was returned to the MCC Special Housing Unit after a psychiatric evaluation determined that he was no longer at risk of harming himself. So it's also been reported that his lawyers had requested he be removed from suicide watch. So that's kind of interesting, don't you think?
It is. Yeah, I would love to know the protocol for a regular person that had tried to commit suicide and then compare that to how they treated Epstein's case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And coming from a purely healthcare point of it, because that's my background is healthcare.
Yeah, of course.
We see people. I see people come through where I work freaking every day who are, let's just say, unstable. Whether they're trying to harm themselves or someone else, or whether they are just crazy, unstable. And you would think that there would be a very rigid set of guidelines and rules that could determine when a person is considered not a danger to themselves or others, right? And now we're talking New York, and here we are, you and I are in Tennessee, so I'm not going to pretend to know the laws in New York, but I can tell you here in Tennessee that it's not that hard to get off of a suicide watch.
Okay.
Or there is a certain set of laws here, And if we've got them here in Tennessee, they've got to be in the other 50 states. So it's got to be in New York, something similar. But there's something called a 6404 form. And it's basically, in a nutshell, it gives a healthcare provider, i.e. doctor, the authority to strip you of all of your rights to make decisions for yourself because you are either mentally unstable or you pose a danger or harm to yourself or other people. And the provider can strip you of all of your rights for a period of 72 hours. And you cannot make any decisions for yourself. And you are a literal prisoner of the healthcare system at that point in time. You cannot just leave because it is basically against the law for you to do that. So there's another form called a 6401, and that's a little bit something different, but it basically is kind of the same thing. So we put people on this psych hold like that all the time, and because there are so few psychiatric hospitals and so few psychiatric caregivers in the world, you can potentially stay in that state of limbo for an unspecified amount of time, like almost indefinitely. Wow. And when it runs out in 72 hours, the doctor can just be like, here's another form.
Oh, I see.
And so you're screwed for another 72 hours. And then when you finally do get a psychiatric evaluation, you've had time to either think about what you were going through or formulate some sort of plan to say, I don't like this, and you can get out of it. I mean, you just answer the questions the right way. So just because you do something like that does not make you mentally stable.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you're not suicidal. So could he have fooled his psychiatric person at the prison? Absolutely he could have. Or could they have been ordered by somebody to take him off suicide watch? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's not beyond the realm of possibility for him to still be suicidal and then have been taken off of that just by simply answering the questions right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
That went into a lot of detail that probably no one wanted to know. But
that's kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because it seemed weird to me that if he definitely tried to commit suicide, how does someone just get off that? But that does make sense.
Yeah, and all you had to do, like I said, is just answer the right questions. Like, yes, I tried to kill myself. I just didn't see any way out of the situation. I realized that was dumb, and I'm going to fight this. And I'm not suicidal anymore, doctor. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Here, check. You're off suicide watch. But what is very suspect, though, is the video camera being, this malfunctioned.
Unusable.
Yes. And there was not one but two officers who were supposed to keep an eye on him that, it is break time for both of us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those two things right there, that's what I find highly suspect. The fact that he was taken off suicide watch, that doesn't, I hate to say it, but I don't blink an eye at that.
Okay.
That does not concern me. What does concern me, though, is the fact that he was taken off suicide watch and you had malfunctioning cameras and you had staff who weren't properly trained who also both went on break at the same time. You put all of those together, and that is conspiracy right there.
There's too many. Too many things went wrong.
Too many coincidences.
Yeah,
exactly. So they failed to follow proper procedures, which had apparently they had assured the Justice Department personnel that they would adhere to. They're supposed to check on inmates in the special housing unit every half hour, but on Friday night, the night before he died, they didn't do so. And then these two guys went on break, or actually what the report is that they fell asleep and failed to check on him for about 3 hours. And so supposedly, in some sort of apparent cover-up attempt, they falsified records to hide their mistake. So yeah, that's on them though. So initially Epstein was held in general population, but unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, I guess, he was taken out of general population because someone like that, you don't put them in gen pop because they can of course be extorted and all that other sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
and traditionally, from what I understand, pedophiles are accused pedophiles, and that was one of the things that he was accused of being, was a pedophile because of all this sex with underage women. Pedophiles generally do not do well in prison.
Nope.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they don't like pedophiles in jail.
No.
Nope.
Yeah. No, even criminals have moral codes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I've heard that before.
So, another report that I read was, let's see here. I've got it right here. Hang on. I just had it, and then I... Oh, yeah. There's a newspaper called The Daily Beast, or a website called The Daily Beast, that describes Epstein's injuries from his prior alleged suicide attempt as small abrasions around his neck. And at the time of that attempt, he was sharing a cell with a guy named Nicholas Tartaglione, who was a former police officer that was charged with kidnapping and murdering 4 people back in 2016. Now, Tartaglione's lawyer told authorities that his client had saved Epstein's life during the first suicide attempt by alerting the corrections officers, and then further claimed that Tartaglione was being implicated in the suicide attempt because he'd recently complained about the conditions at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, MCC, and said at the time that we warned the judge that officials at the jail would retaliate against Nick because we have been exposing the inhumane conditions at the facility. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because the Daily Beast, whoever their source was, also claimed that there was some inhumane conditions there, and their source said that Epstein, and I'm quoting here, lived like a pig in a sty after his first suicide attempt, and he was eating meals off the floor and making frequent requests for toilet paper.
Wow, I did not come across that, but that is strange. Yeah, very strange.
So, could this be just, officials at the jail just making, retaliation attempts? Possibility. I don't think so. And, of course, this is all hearsay. This is coming from a prisoner,
Of course, yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But what is beyond dispute is that there's no surveillance video of Epstein's death. The cameras were not functioning. And that he was definitely left alone for a period, an extended period of time, where he should have been checked on every half hour or so. One of the quotes that the Washington Post, that I read from the Washington Post, said that at least one camera in the hallway outside the cell where authorities say registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein hanged himself earlier this month had footage that is unusable, and that it's unclear whether the flaw in the taping affected a limited duration of the footage or whether it was a chronic problem in the facility.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it could have been
Exactly.
that the facility was just a piece of crap.
Well, considering how our prison system is, that's not beyond
No, that is
belief.
very true.
However, once again, you have these coincidences
Yeah,
that
there's the
line up.
coincidences,
There's so many things
Yeah.
that are just there are too many coincidences. So now you've got Epstein's death being investigated by the FBI, the Justice Department, and of course the New York Medical Examiner's Office. So you got these 3 separate entities.
Yeah.
So heads are going to roll, I'm sure. But if these guards were paid off to either look the other way or to do the deed themselves, they'll do some time, and then they'll be quietly paroled or whatever, and they'll live their lives as wealthy people.
Yeah, I'm sure we won't hear much about it.
No, we won't.
Yeah.
And that itself will be suspect as well.
Yeah. It keeps
So
going.
you just showed me just a minute ago an interesting picture. Tell about this picture that you just discovered here.
I did. So I got to give credit to the account. So if you're a fan of conspiracy theories, there's a podcast called Tinfoil Hat by Sam Tripoli and XG. And if you go to their Instagram feed, they posted an hour ago of an aerial footage. Looks like from a drone or something. And there's a black man sitting on, it looks to be like an ATV. And next to him is a car of some sort. And a man who looks extremely like Jeffrey Epstein is gray hair, facial features look like Epstein. He is stepping out of what looks to be the driver's seat. So if you would like to indulge the conspiracy that he's still alive, then this picture is, I don't know. It really does look like him, and I try to be objective, but it looks like him, man.
So where in the world are they? Did it say where
I don't
they
know.
are?
I mean, he looks like he's wearing flip-flop shorts and a T-shirt, so... And a black guy, I mean, that could be anywhere. It could be the islands. I don't know. It could be Africa. I don't know. It could, but it really could be anywhere. The black man is. You can't see his face either. So.
Is there any way that you can email that to me?
I'll send you a screenshot.
Yeah, send me a screenshot. We'll try to get that posted on
Yeah.
ParaReality.com for you guys.
Yeah, and so kind of going off this thread a little, if I can. Yeah. So I found this really interesting tidbit. So there's a reporter for the New York Times named Larry Celona, Celona, and he was hired by Stanley Kubrick, for Eyes Wide Shut and The Perfect Murder. And I can't remember if The Perfect Murder is by Kubrick. I've only seen a couple of his films, but we all know Eyes Wide Shut is by Kubrick.
Last film, yeah.
Yeah. And so he was hired by Kubrick for Eyes Wide Shut to write 2 fake news articles in the movie about the girl that gets killed. And it just so happens that the New York Post and Larry Celona were some of the first to report on Epstein's death. And,
how about that? How
yep,
interesting.
Yep. And also, supposedly Larry flew with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's partner. I don't know. I can't remember specifically how intimate they were, but they were together. And so he flew with those two on the private jet to Palm Beach in 99 and supposedly returned with 2 extra women passengers. And this is where it gets a little weird. If you rearrange Larry Celona, if you rearrange the letters in Larry Celona, it turns out to be Royal Lancer. And the Royal Lancers are a part of the British military. And just so happens that from the years of 2003 to 2015, Prince Andrew, who is a known associate and possibly was involved with some of Epstein's sex trafficking, he was the colonel-in-chief of the Royal Lancers.
Holy shit.
So, yeah, it's a weird, I don't know how, I mean, it's pretty wild. And if you believe in coincidences, maybe a coincidence, but it's a strange tidbit I came across. So
somebody worked hard to rearrange those letters to make it come out the Royal Answer.
I know, but yeah, that's how it works out. So,
do you have any other interesting tidbits of information or any theories that you'd like to throw out there or expand upon? Well, Epstein, yeah, in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the rearranging of the letters is a little bit of a stretch, but it is also weird that Prince Andrew was involved with the Royal Lancers, and that's just how it rearranges Larry Salona's name. If that's even his real name, it could not be. I don't know. But as far just like, because it is a fact that Larry Salona was on Eyes Wide Shut. So if you just take it like on a ground level type of view, it could be that Larry Salona was trying to be in charge of the fake news about Epstein's death, and he was the first person to get out in front of it. And he also wrote one of the first articles about Kubrick's death. So
that itself is interesting as well.
Very interesting.
So he was hired by Kubrick to write fake news articles for movies.
Yep.
And then he was one of the first people to report on Kubrick's death and on Epstein's death.
Correct.
Did not know that.
Yes. Yeah, that's the biggest tidbit. I also wanted to. We were talking about the island earlier, or I'm sorry, the New Mexico ranch, and yeah, Epstein had been involved in this transhumanism, trying to extend, or I should say, the transhumanism is the belief that that human evolution can be furthered through science and technology, and he had even cultivated relationships with Stephen Hawking, apparently, and a Nobel Prize winner, Murray Gell-Mann, who he was into like controlled, or I should say, Epstein got with him on like his interest of controlled breeding and other fringe theories. So,
controlled breeding. That's where the women in the rooms
exactly.
come into
So
effect.
just kind of going back there for a second, yeah, talking about that.
Breeding.
As far as theories, though, I was on the train that he'd been killed, but if that picture's legitimate, it's very strange that that's popping up.
Well, I saw the picture.
Yeah,
it's fitty.
It is fitty because it's kind of grainy.
Yeah.
So,
but it's interesting nonetheless, and let's face it, who doesn't love a good conspiracy theory, right?
You got to.
I have traditionally, in the past, I have always said that I have never been a big conspiracy theorist, especially when it comes to our government. And that's mainly what I was talking about was government conspiracy theories. I think that there are secrets that the government keeps from us, as well they should. We don't need to know everything the government does.
We do not.
However, I have slowly been drawn into the conspiracy theory world over the last few years. And once you start going down that slippery slope, it's hard to crawl back up out of that. And I gotta admit, I'm really enjoying the ride on these conspiracy theories so far. And this one is not going to go away for a long time.
It is not.
One thing that I want to point out is that the medical examiner is ruling his death as, I think, a suicide, right?
That's, yes, New York Medical Examiner, yeah.
And in one of the reports, it says that Epstein's hyoid bone in his neck was broken. That's at the front. It's a very small, fragile bone. Now, here's where I want to throw my 2 cents in with this whole conspiracy theory.
Yes, indeed.
Okay? So, the hyoid bone, if you don't know, I'm not going to give you an anatomy lesson, but it's a very small, fragile bone in the neck towards the front. Okay? It's very easily broken. You can do this in basically a couple of different... It has to have the correct pressure put on there. Okay? So, you can get it done by hanging, which Epstein did. Okay? Or you can also get that by being strangled. So, if Epstein was strangled to death in his cell, conveniently while people were asleep and videos weren't working, during that 3-hour period. 3 hours is more than enough time to kill someone. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
It takes about 7 minutes to choke someone before they're going to be dead. Okay? Your brain can survive without oxygen for up to 10 minutes, but it really takes around 7, let's just say 10. Let's just be safe, okay? Let's say 10 minutes. So what you see, this is where my medical expertise comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what you see on TV where someone strangles someone then in 30 seconds they're dead, absolutely not negative. You're going to strangle someone and then in a couple of minutes they're going to pass out from lack of oxygen. They're not dead.
Okay.
If you quit after they go unconscious and you walk away, they're not dead. They're probably going to wake up in a little bit. Okay? So it takes a good 7 to 10 minutes worth of steady pressure on someone's throat to kill them, to strangle them.
That's a lot of time spent.
That's a lot of time. That is a lot of time. Exactly. Now you can take a few minutes on either side of that, but let's just say 7 to 10 minutes. Okay. Same thing if you smother them with a pillow on their face.
Yeah.
Okay. Hyoid bone can easily be broken by putting all that pressure on the neck. The hyoid bone can also be broken if you try to hang yourself. Okay? What I find interesting is that after the first attempted suicide by Epstein, and that's not in dispute, that he tried to kill himself earlier.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's pretty true.
Yeah, that's definitely not in dispute at all. So, wouldn't you think that if you tried to kill yourself by hanging yourself, and that attempt was thwarted, wouldn't you think you would have been given a medical examination, especially if you were incarcerated?
You would think so.
You would think so. And wouldn't part of that medical examination involve an x-ray of your neck?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here to tell you the answer to both of those things should be yes. Okay? So you don't have anything that comes out that I have seen from his first medical examination. Number one, I don't know that. I think reports said that they did take him to the hospital, so he did receive a medical examination, right? But you don't have any reports of that. So, did they just not X-ray the guy's throat? No, of course they had to. If he was taken to the hospital, if he got any kind of medical examination, they should have X-rayed his throat. Why wasn't the broken hyoid bone not caught at that time? Why wasn't it not reported? Conspiracy. Did his bone get broken in the second attempt?
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying it could have been broken in the first.
It could have been, but if it was, why is there no report of it?
Yeah.
Did they miss it, or are they just not saying it, or was it not a factor?
Yeah.
So, hyoid bone broken could have been done by strangulation. Here to tell you, it happens.
Yeah. Wow. I did find another tidbit. So apparently,
I gotta know.
Apparently, Trump signed a bill that if you're found to be connected to sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, the government can seize your estate and everything you own. 2 days before,
I'm shocked.
2 days before his death, Epstein signed a will giving his estate to a mysterious benefactor. So Epstein commits suicide, resulting in his charges being dropped, which means his estate is being released to the beneficiary of his will. So who's getting Epstein's estate? Or if he's still alive, is he getting his estate back?
That's super genius.
Does that
right
make
there.
sense?
That is super genius.
And I have to give credit to Tinfoil Hat again. They had a little Twitter thread. So
wow, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mysterious. It doesn't say who the mysterious benefactor was.
No, not in that. But if that's to be believed, you fake the death is faked.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing where you're heading with this.
The mysterious benefactor is who knows, but then he just gives, I guess, the will back over to Epstein, who's still alive, and it's like nothing ever happened.
What was the name of the New England Patriots wide receiver that got convicted of murder conspiracy?
Oh, Aaron Hernandez?
Aaron Hernandez. one of the theories that surround him about why he killed himself was because if you kill yourself, then you're whatever weird freaking law it is. It's like basically you're exonerated from. Oh yeah, you're not a convicted. They can't seize it. Yeah. So that makes I never thought about that. That makes really good sense. So the benefactor, who knows? Who knows who it could be? Epstein's on Epstein's payroll.
Yeah.
So all Epstein has to do is just go live on his private island for the rest of his life.
Somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. It's not like we're not talking about, Nicolas Cage and John Travolta on Face Off here. You can't just go get a new face. But if you're a multimillionaire like that, you can afford to change your look up somewhat. So, grow a big-ass bushy beard, get some hair dye, and...
Yeah. You really could.
Get a facelift and, make you look a little in a nose job or whatever. You can get enough change that you may still resemble your former self, but you're probably not going to look exactly like yourself.
Yeah.
And he could probably get that done on the island.
Oh, completely. Fly someone out, pay him a couple $100,000. Don't say anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or it could be someone he already knew. Who knows?
God, we're getting deep.
Yeah, it is, and
I like it though.
Yeah, and that's just that is a theory. These are theories. I just want to be careful with that. I'm not claiming that all of that is legitimate. Why?
Yes, you are. You are. You're totally claiming.
No, I do. As of right now, as of the moment we're on the air. Well, yeah, as we're on the air. I do believe he is still alive.
No doubt in your mind? Like what percentage?
No, there's a little bit of doubt. I'm gonna go 85% in that he's alive. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm not gonna go that high. I'm like 65.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes we underestimate the lengths to which the mega wealthy will go to maintain their position. Think at the lengths he went to find underage girls back when he was convicted in 2008, I think it was, on like a 13-month sentence.
Well, I don't think it's that hard to get that.
Yeah.
But I see
was willing
your
to
point
do
is well
so.
taken. I see what you. Yeah. And once you're like that, okay, and you're like you said, mega rich, which equals mega power.
Yes.
And you screw up and get caught, and then you get out of it, which apparently was like, to get out of. Okay. Yeah. Now, what incentive do you have to change your ways?
You don't.
Zero, because I got out of it once.
Yeah.
I can get out of it again, And so another factor is that people like that just don't change. No. That's like something that's deep rooted in their DNA and their psyche. You're going to have to get reprogrammed. That's going to take a lot of psychological counseling. Look at R. Kelly. Now, I'm not comparing Jeff Epstein and R. Kelly.
Too different.
But look at R. Kelly. This dude he's got some serious problems, man. And he has been busted time and time again and kept getting out of it. And that's just proof that I don't think he's anywhere near as rich and powerful as Epstein was, but he was a celebrity, so he had that status going for him. But he kept getting out of it, and he had plenty of money. What incentive did he have to change?
Yeah.
And just like R. Kelly, where everyone around him knew what was going on, people that was close to Jeffrey Epstein in his camp knew what the F was going on. There's no way that you can't know. And I totally believe that back in 1994 that Trump was at an orgy that was hosted by Epstein. I 100% believe that, but I do not believe that he raped someone there.
Yeah.
So, man, there is And the answer to this is we have no answers.
But no, we don't.
We just have more questions.
We do, and that's the tough thing about the world that we live in.
I got to see what you did there. I like it.
I had to do it at least once. That's where we're at. Is we have so much information that it seems like the more stuff we get, the more questions we have.
Yes, and as I said earlier, this is not going away, not anytime soon. This will be one of those things that lasts forever, like JFK. I'm not comparing the two conspiracy theories, don't get me wrong, but the longevity is going to be there. This is just too... it's low-hanging fruit, man.
It's too weird.
And the berries are ripe on this.
Oh, they are. It's only been, what?
It was a month?
Yeah. I mean...
Not even that, you know?
It's crazy.
Yeah. So this is still hot off the presses, and there's still more to come. We're gonna find out more. And... you know, as things go along, this is giving. Let's face it. This, if this was really murder, if they killed him, this was not something that they had a long time to plan.
Oh no.
This was something that's like we gotta come up with something now, and then the backstories will be spun later on down the line. If this was like what you're saying, which is he faked it and somehow got out of it, it's the same deal. This wasn't something they had a long time to plan.
Nope.
This was something that they had to come up with on the fly, and now we're going to have to, you know, tell our story on the backside. We're going to have to make the story fit the circumstances. But either way, this is good stuff for conspiracy theorists.
It really is.
You know,
it's prime conspiracy.
It is like a low-hanging fruit, and the berries are ripe.
Yep.
You know, let's pick them. Let's pick them. So we ran a little over tonight, but that's okay because
there's a lot to cover.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to throw in here? I mean, we're already over time, so screw it. Let's just keep going. Is there anything else?
Yes, I do.
I can tell. I can look at you.
I have
something. Let's go for it. Go for it.
Maybe you've seen this. So, when they were going into Jeffrey Epstein's, I'm just going to call him Epstein. When they were going into Epstein...
Jeff. As we would hang out. Let's call him Big J.
I want to clarify
That's
that never happened. Epstein's New York mansion, there was a painting. Have you seen this painting? It's a painting supposedly of Bill Clinton in a dress in the Oval Office, sitting on a couch, kind of like lounged up in a blue dress.
Hell? In a blue dress. Wasn't that the color of what's her face's dress?
Monica Lewinsky's?
Yeah, wasn't that the color of the dress when she was sucking his D?
That was a little before my time.
No, you were born then.
No, I was born in 95.
God, you suck. Oh,
I know. I don't know much about that.
Oh, my God, I hate you. I think she had a blue dress on.
Okay. Yeah, we can check that. It's possible.
Holy crap. That's...
Yeah, there's a painting...
Is there a picture of this?
There is definitely.
I have to see this.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I'll pull it up.
Yes, you must send me this picture.
Yes. So
no, I was not aware.
Yeah, I've seen a picture of that. It's like they took it somehow through the front door. Somebody took it through the front door of his mansion in New York.
That's kind of creepy and
sick, and some sort of creepiness as well. Yes, I don't know. It's a weird creepiness because obviously it's not scary, but it's like what? So
okay, so I'm going to have some in today's age of computers.
Yes,
let's check on this here. So, what color was Monica Lewinsky's dress?
Yeah, it has to be a quick search. I feel like.
Oh, look, someone's already done it. What color was Monica Lewinsky's dress? The stained blue dress that almost lost a presidency.
Oh, there you go.
Yep,
Tying
I
it
told
together.
You. Yeah. So, yeah. So this happened in 97. So, see, you were alive.
Yeah, I guess I was. I wasn't. I was a little unaware, little 2-year-old.
So, here's images of the dress. I don't know if you can see that from your desk over there.
Yeah, I can.
Well, that sucked. Did that look like what was in the picture? Oh my God. This is the painting right here.
Painting.
Oh my
yes,
God.
you have it.
That is uber creepy,
Isn't
dude.
it creepy? I know.
This is going up on the website.
Yeah,
too,
you gotta
guys.
put that link for sure.
God. Oh.
Yeah, I saw
Why?
that. And
Why would anyone want to have that in there?
I don't know.
And it was on the wall,
Why-
for everybody to see.
Exactly. Why is that something that you want to look at daily?
Because that tells you the power that you hold over that individual.
Oh, yeah. Vulnerable.
That's the only reason you would want to
females'
have that
clothing.
hanging up. Oh my God, everybody! I wish you could. God, that make you know what?
That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way.
It's my conspiracy theory brain.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm into this. So yeah, but that makes absolutely perfectly good sense. So, something we hadn't even gotten into, the Bill Clinton.
I know
List.
The list. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe we
God.
should end on that. Just
You want to stick around and talk about the Bill Clinton list?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this. Okay, so this makes perfectly good sense. So this is why you would want to have
a painting,
something like this hanging in your home, is because you have Bill Clinton, the most powerful man in the free world at that time, right? Because he was the president of the United States.
Yeah.
You have something so great over this person that you can degrade them like this and publicly show everyone that comes into your home, hey, look, I own this MFer. I own this guy. That's what that's all about. There is no way in hell that's it. So we got to talk. I can't believe I almost forgot about this, but we cannot close this out without talking about the Clinton body count. So
Crooked Hillary.
This was popularized by Trump in one of his 10 million tweets a day that he does. So, but there is something to this. So we have already established a fact that Epstein and Clinton were buddies. They traveled together on the private jet 26 times, right?
Yeah.
We've got this established. So the theory goes that Epstein had something on Clinton, and he was about to make a deal.
Yeah.
And we already know that he had stuff on other people that he was willing to roll over on in order to try to get himself out of whatever it was that he was facing. So if you have kept up with this thing with Bill Clinton, since he was in office as president, you know that there are a lot of people around Bill Clinton who have died mysterious deaths. And a lot of these people either had dirt on Bill Clinton or were about to publicly come out with their dirt on Bill Clinton, or knew someone who had some dirt on Bill Clinton, or something. And there is a list right now. We talked about it the first of the show. 47 names are on this list of the Clinton body count. So can you associate Jeff Epstein with number 48 on this list? It's not a stretch. If he had something on Bill Clinton, and if they were flying around the world in this dude's private jet, both of these guys were sexual deviants.
Buddies.
There was some debauchery that was going on right there, and he had it on Clinton.
Had to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely not. So, like I said, this list is 47 people deep. And I've got just a handful that I want to throw out here that I want to talk about that really, to me, rings a bell. So one of them is Ron Brown, who was the Secretary of Commerce and the former DNC chairman. Ron Brown was reported to have died in a plane accident, a plane crash. A pathologist close to the investigation reported that there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull that resembled a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Ron Brown was being investigated and spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. The rest of the people on the plane also died, and a few days later, the air traffic controller committed suicide. Yeah, so he had some dirt on the Clintons and was like, hey, I will tell what I know. And mysteriously, he died in a plane crash. And all those people that were in the plane with him died.
Damn.
As well. But yet he had a hole in the top of his skull. Now, plane crash, it could have been debris or something like that, but that's just
still very strange.
Very suspect, yes. Another person that's extremely suspect. And by the way, all 47 people on this list, their deaths are highly suspect. So let's just get that out of the way. But another one that sticks out to me is a person by the name of Jerry Parks. He was head of Clinton's gubernatorial security team in Little Rock. This guy was gunned down in his car at a deserted intersection outside Little Rock Parks. And his son... outside of Little Rock Parks. I just screwed it up. He was at a deserted intersection somewhere right outside of Little Rock. And Parks' son, there we go, said that his dad was building a dossier on Bill Clinton. And he allegedly threatened to reveal all of this info. And after he died, all of the files in that mysterious dossier were removed from his house and have never seen the light of day. And this was just when Clinton was, governor of Arkansas.
Yeah, and there's more on this list talking about Arkansas, specifically about the drug smuggling operation. Barry Seal. And there's actually I believe Tom Cruise plays Barry Seal. There's a movie about that. That I haven't seen yet, but
haven't seen it yet either. But it's supposed to be pretty.
Yes,
good.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So Clinton supposedly had a huge drug smuggling operation going on in Arkansas when he was
governor.
He was governor down there, and of course, there's all kind of names on this list. I'd have to look through it to find out, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Speaking of when Clinton was in Arkansas, there's another name on the list. That her name is Suzanne Coleman. Now, she reportedly had an affair with Clinton when he was an Arkansas attorney general, and she died of a gunshot wound to the back of her head. But the interesting thing about this is that the medical examiner ruled the death a suicide, even though the gunshot was to the back of her head. And interestingly enough, she was also preggers when she died.
Yes, I saw that one.
Yeah. So who was she? Whose child was it?
Yeah.
Was it Bill Clinton's? Is that why she, quote unquote, committed suicide? Did she have to die? Or maybe Hillary found out about it.
That's true.
Yeah, let me take care of this situation right here.
Man.
Yeah. There's also a guy named Danny Casolaro. He was an investigative reporter who was investigating the Mena Airport and the Arkansas Development Finance Authority. That was part of the drug cartel thing. Yeah. He supposedly, during the middle of his investigation, just decided, I need to kill myself, and slit his wrist and died in the middle of everything. Suspect.
Very sus.
Very, very, very suspect. See, a couple of other people, Kevin Ives and Don Henry. You familiar with those? Yeah, you're nodding your head.
Right now, yep.
No, those two are known as the boys on the track. Reports say that these two boys may have stumbled upon the Mena, Arkansas airport drug operation. This is, of course, a controversial case. The initial report of death was said that both of these kids fell asleep on the railroad tracks. Who falls asleep on the railroad tracks?
Extremely uncomfortable if you've ever seen railroad tracks.
I've never laid across railroad tracks for obvious reasons, but I doubt that I would fall asleep on them if I did. And, okay, so all the people in the world, maybe you can say, okay, maybe there's one person in the world who, quote unquote, fell asleep on the railroad tracks. But two people at the same time?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and then later reports claim that they had been killed before being placed on the tracks. And it says many people linked to the case died before their testimony could come before a grand jury on this. So, yeah, this brings up the topic of what you were talking about with the drug cartel thing.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, right below that is a series of individuals who had information on this Henry Ives case. And one of the people, Keith McMaskill, apparently was stabbed 113 times.
Yeah, I'm looking at that name right now. Yeah, in November 1988, stabbed 113 times. Yeah, and the one that sticks out to me is James Millen, or Milan, however you want to say it. He was found decapitated, but the interesting thing is that the coroner ruled that his death was due to natural causes.
Yeah, I would love to read the report on that. I can't imagine the rationalization that was done there.
Well, now I've actually been following the Clinton body count since the 90s.
Okay.
Somewhere, there is a VHS documentary about this that was done in the early mid-90s. Maybe it was the late 90s. Let's just say mid-90s.
Okay.
I don't know the name of this. I've seen this documentary, and I have tried to find it, but I cannot. When I saw it, it was a guy that I worked with who hated Bill Clinton, and he had somehow gotten a hold of this documentary. This was a legitimate documentary.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was on video cassette. And it was before DVDs was all that popular and all that sorts of stuff, And he brought it to work. And we watched it at work one night. Because we used to work 24-hour shifts.
Okay.
And you're sitting up all night with nothing to do. So let's watch this documentary. It was fascinating.
Wow.
And this case with James Millen was on there. I distinctly remember it.
Yeah.
And it's just freaking, it's fascinating. So I've been like kind of following this since the 90s.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then, you got to look at people who wind up the list. The last, handful of names on the list, 10 or 12 of them are bodyguards. That was with Clinton when he was governor of Arkansas, who are dead. And the very last person, number 47, is Seth Rich. He was the D.C. staffer that was murdered and robbed of nothing, it says here, on July the 10th. And supposedly Julian Assange, which we all know who that guy is, claims that this guy had info on the DNC email scandal.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the list doesn't just stop at the presidency. It keeps going.
Yep.
And who knows how many names that can be added to this list. And since Jeff Epstein was a pretty good friend of Bill Clinton's, I'm sure, like I said, if they were traveling somewhere, you had these two people who are sexual deviants, there was some debauchery going on that plane or wherever it was that they landed. And Epstein, I know, had dirt.
And Epstein got caught, and so had to get rid of him.
Perfect opportunity to take care of the situation.
Clean slate.
Yeah, That's right, baby. All right, well, we're about an hour and a half here. We're 30 minutes over. That's okay.
It's all good,
That's part of doing your own show is you can make it go as long as you want. But we need to wind things down. So, everybody, I hope that you really enjoyed tonight's extra special episode of the Jeff Epstein Conspiracy Theories. Let me know what you thought about it by dropping me an email. My email address is sandman@ParaReality.com. Or you can get in touch with Eric at World We Live Pod on Twitter. If you go to ParaReality.com, that's where you can find out all kinds of information about the show. You can listen to not only this episode, but if you click on the archives, you can listen to all kinds of archives from all the years of ParaReality Radio. If you click on the Extras tab, you can join the official ParaReality Radio forum. It's free to join. You can shop in the ParaReality Radio store. You can watch some stupid videos that I've done and all kinds of other stuff. And don't forget, you can find ParaReality Radio on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at ParaRealRadio. Post a lot of interesting stuff on Facebook and Twitter, like, special guest, upcoming shows, and interesting articles and stuff like that. So make sure you follow me on both of those social media accounts to stay updated on what's happening in the world of ParaReality Radio. And make sure you follow Eric, World We Live Pod.
On Twitter, yep.
On Twitter. Listen to his main podcast, The World We Live In, which can be found hosted on Podbean, but you can find it on any of your typical
podcast outlets.
Outlets, yes, thank you. I just totally drew a blank there. So, iTunes, what's it? Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts, yeah.
Spotify, Google, Stitcher, all that sorts of stuff.
For sure.
And, of course, you can find ParaReality Radio on all of those same streaming platforms. I, of course, can. My home is on Spreaker, so you can listen to it on Spreaker, or there's Facebook, there's YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel, ParaReality, with the number 1 out beside it, ParaReality 1. So there's what we got. There's Google Play. I got it written down here. Stitcher, Player FM, Spotify. Let's see. Of course, Spreaker. There's. I'm not on Apple Podcasts yet.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with my
we'll
account.
have to get that down, yeah.
But there's something called Deezer or something like that, I think. Maybe
there have been a ton that I've stumbled upon lately. I don't know if they're new or I've only been in this world for like 2 years.
Yeah. There are so many, and you can find the World We Live In podcast. You can find ParaReality Radio on all of those. And by the way, if you have a smart device, a smart speaker, you can enable any of those skills on your smart speaker and say, play ParaReality Radio or play the World We Live In podcast. So you can, just listen to your heart's content. Whew, man, I'm out of breath. So that about winds it up. Everybody, the next show here on ParaReality Radio is going to be on Friday, September 20th, 2019 at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Please make sure you tune in and find out. And as always, I hope this radio program opens your minds up to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. God, I messed up my freaking closing line.
It's okay.
How did I do that?
Yeah, slap on the wrist.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Eric, as always, pleasure to have you back in the PR Radio studios, man. Can't wait to do it again. We'll have to collaborate on the Giants.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Island.
Yeah. And I'd just like to say, do your own research.
Yeah.
Yes. We talked about it. We did our research, but do your own research because what matters is that you form your own opinions. And hopefully we had a little springboard here, but I do that as well. I try to do my own research. Obviously I did it for this, but yeah, do your own research, look into it, and yeah.
And hopefully we have given you, like you said, a springboard, and really be like us. We're open-minded skeptics.
Yes.
So don't, just because we say it on this podcast doesn't mean that it is the gospel, because I certainly don't want you to think that way. I have no preset agendas on my show. I welcome people who have different opinions, and I love the debate. I'm not going to believe everything that I see, hear, or read, and I don't expect you to do that as well. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yes.
And, okay, I'm going to try this one more time because I screwed it up. So here we go, and then we're done. Everyone, I hope this radio program opens your mind up to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. Nailed it. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks on September 20th, and Eric will be back in October. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Cheers.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.